How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. I wanted to talk to you today about the update for President Trump being sued, and we have some more information on that, some different politicians giving their weigh in on it, and then also talk to you about how some Native Americans and Native American tribes are suing the government over some federal relief also. So we'll get right into it. If you guys want to see more of this, subscribe or like the video. Both of those things help, and then you can see more updates if this affects you. So first of all, if you haven't seen the video that I made previously about Donald Trump being sued, what happened is in the CARES Act, where they had the stimulus payments to individuals, a big group of people were left out, and that is anyone that was married to an immigrant who doesn't have a social security number. So neither the immigrant nor the person that's married to them gets any stimulus, and if they have kids, they don't get stimulus for that either. So it's kind of a weird situation because you would think that they're here legally and they pay taxes. Either they should get stimulus, or even if they don't, their significant other who is a U.S. citizen should be able to get the stimulus for them and the rest of their kids. But so far they have been left out completely. If you guys want to watch the full video, I'll link it here. But otherwise, I just wanted to give an update on that. Some of our politicians have weighed in on that. This affects a significant amount of people, and you might be saying, this doesn't affect me, but if it affects someone you know, you should watch this. Also, both of these things are relevant to know. First of all, because it's interesting, and second of all, because it's important if anything comes up like this in the future and you're left out of a stimulus bill or stimulus proposal, what the government will do to retroactively make that right. So they kind of left out these two groups of people, and now they're going back and looking at it again to see if they can fix it. But Nancy Pelosi has commented on this, saying that it's a monumental injustice that these people were left out. And she talks about how they pay taxes, they contribute to the economy, and in many cases they're fighting on the front lines of the virus. So I totally agree with that. If you pay your taxes, I think you should be included in this bill. So a lot of the Democrats have brought this up. Now, whether it's just a ploy to get more people behind them or whether they really want to help the people, I'm not going to weigh in on that. But it is interesting to see. Hopefully this progresses. Now, the spokesman for the IRS did mention that if you file your tax returns separately, that you should be able to get the stimulus money. But if you've already filed, you would have to wait until next year, and then you would have to submit the taxes individually, which doesn't help a lot of people now. The whole point of the stimulus was to get people money in their pockets now to help them through. But there is money on the way if you're in that boat, so hopefully that helps you at some point. Now, they did say that the requirement of the Social Security number was a bipartisan decision from both sides, Democrats and Republicans, and this was to prevent illegal immigrants from qualifying for U.S. taxpayer-funded programs and stimulus. So they wanted to reduce fraud and abuse, so they did that, but they also left out a ton of people that needed the money. Now, Schumer said they were going to fight like crazy to protect the families that are affected by this, and the lawsuit is still going forward, so hopefully we'll get more news on that soon. But that's kind of where it is now. People are noticing this and they are speaking out against it, so that's good for everyone that's affected. Now, the other thing that happened really recently is they released some information that some Native American tribes are suing the Treasury over the federal aid that they got that they haven't received. So I'll explain that a little bit better, but basically, Native American tribes were given $8 billion to use for funding from the CARES Act. So they were given the stimulus, but it hasn't been funded yet. They haven't received any of it. The reason is the government hasn't decided how they want to allocate it. There are a bunch of tribes and they haven't decided how they're divvying it up, which I understand on one hand because they did have to disperse $2.2 trillion, and if they're not careful, it can go to the wrong hands. But also, this was passed weeks ago, over a month ago actually. Now these people that need the money haven't received it yet. What happened was some of the Alaskan for-profit businesses which serve tribal villages started to apply for the aid for the $8 billion, and this has sparked a huge feud, and there are actually some lawsuits that were filed last month, and it went to court, and they found that the businesses shouldn't be receiving any of this aid, which is made for tribes, but they had to go to court to determine that.
Well, obviously.
And now they are still trying to allocate that $8 billion to the different tribes. A lot of them have been affected really negatively, more than even the general population. So hopefully they can get that sorted out. This is one of the biggest lawsuits from Native Americans to the US government in a very long time. So even some politicians have commented on this. Nancy Pelosi said that's ridiculous that these businesses were getting in line to get the funds from this, and how they need to do more for their tribes. Now, at the same time this happened, there was also a data breach from the application process from this aid, where a bunch of data from these tribes was hacked. So that also adds a little bit of tension to all of this. And I don't know if I've described this in this way, but I think it's a really good thing that we're giving all this stimulus and aid. And you have the one side that says, yeah, give people as much money as they can handle. One side that is saying, everyone should burn if they don't have money, basically that they shouldn't be giving out any stimulus because people should be self-sufficient. But how I see it is a little bit in the middle. I think that, of course, the money helps people pay for food and rent and stuff like that in the worst case scenario. Maybe they aren't in the worst case scenario where they need this just to live, but it helps them with some cushion. On one hand, that's the health side and just being able to pay for stuff to live day to day. But also I think this helps us as an economy, and I think it helps us over the long term. So we're giving out trillions of dollars, and we have to repay this with a certain interest rate. But I'd rather have that than have all these corporations go out of business. And I think of it this way. Let's say you're a business and you have 50 employees that all rely on you. They have families that rely on you for their steady paycheck. Let's say you're going along, and all of a sudden you have a bad month. So you don't make as much money as you thought, maybe even made a little bit of negative money. Well, do you just shut down the business because you had a bad month? No, you don't shut down the business and put all these people out of work, let their families starve. You go apply for a loan or a line of credit, and then you disperse that, and then you slowly pay it back over time. You don't burn everything that you've built over the years just because you had a bad month. And that's kind of how I see all the stimulus too. We had a couple bad months. The federal government has 50 states underneath it. It provides them money and provides everyone else money to get them through in the short term, because a couple $1 trillion won't make a difference in the long run. I'd much rather have us in debt a couple more $1 trillion than have us not be able to repay it or people not have jobs. So I think that is kind of the way that we have to go. Now, there's always a limit to how much we should provide, but I just wanted to give that as my background for where I'm kind of sitting on this. I'm not trying to play sides one way or the other, but I think we need this to get through to the other side. If you want to get more of these videos, subscribe, like the video. It will disperse this out to more people. I appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.